Have you ever wondered why some women melt when a man takes the lead, while others quietly test him until he proves he can? Beneath the soft smiles and the polite words, there is a deep, primal current that runs through attraction. It's the desire to be conquered not in the crude sense, but in the psychological sense, to feel a man's presence, his certainty, his ability to claim space without asking for permission. This is not about force. It's about gravity. When you walk into a room, does she feel the pull of your energy? Or does she sense hesitation? Because in that split second, before any words are spoken, her mind has already begun to judge, is this a man she must resist? Or is this a man she can surrender to? Picture this. You're on a date. The conversation flows, but at some point, she goes quiet. Not because she has nothing to say, but because she wants to feel what you do next. Do you rush to fill the silence? Do you start fidgeting, trying to entertain her, desperate to hold her attention? Or do you simply sit in that silence, comfortable, unbothered, knowing that your presence is enough? Most men crumble in those moments. They think attention must be earned with tricks, with words, with effort. But a woman knows instinctively if you can't hold yourself in stillness. How could you ever hold her in the storm of life? Science in 2025 confirms what men have felt but never fully articulated. Studies in behavioral psychology show that women's arousal systems are not triggered by ease, but by challenge. Comfort bores her. Predictability numbs her. Her biology is tuned to detect strength, not muscles alone, but the psychological force that makes her feel contained and safe while simultaneously on edge. She doesn't consciously say it, but she tests for it. That's why she pushes boundaries. That's why she withholds responses. That's why she creates little puzzles with her words. It isn't cruelty, it's instinct. Because if you fold under the smallest test, how could you possibly conquer the deeper ones? Here's where most men fail. They confuse giving effort with giving themselves away. Imagine she doesn't text you back for a few hours. Instantly, your chest tightens, your mind spins. You double text. You ask if she's okay. You check her social media. Without realizing it, you've already surrendered. She didn't even need to say anything. You conquered yourself by making her the center of your attention. And do you know what happens inside her when she sees that she feels less attraction? Because the conqueror is not supposed to be conquered by her silence. The conqueror remains steady. He acknowledges her absence, but he doesn't collapse under it. That contrast between her uncertainty and your stability is what draws her back. Let me give you a real example. A man I once spoke to was dating a woman who constantly threatened to end things whenever she didn't get her way. He panicked each time, begged her to stay, promised to change. Months later, she admitted she never truly respected him. Why? Because every time she waved the sword of rejection, he dropped his shield. He thought he was showing love. She saw weakness. The relationship ended not because she didn't like him, but because he failed the test she never even admitted she was giving. Now, let's flip it. Another man, when faced with the same pattern, did something different. She tried to pull away dramatically, expecting his panic. Instead, he calmly said, "If that's what you want, I won't stop you." Then he got up, paid for their dinner, and walked out. Do you know what happened next? She chased him. She begged for another chance. Why? Because in that moment, he showed he wasn't afraid of losing her. He conquered the fear that keeps most men enslaved, and that made him 10 times more desirable in her eyes. This is the paradox. Women want to feel chosen, but they also want to feel they could lose you. Your detachment becomes the proof of your strength. The science explains it. Her nervous system is wired to seek tension and resolution. Too much comfort and she feels nothing. Too much chaos and she feels unsafe. But the man who can create controlled tension, who can lead, who can withdraw attention without anger, who can give without being consumed, he taps into the primal rhythm she cannot resist. That's what it means to conquer not her body, not her mind, but her respect. So here's the tactic. When she withdraws, don't chase. When she tests, don't defend. When she gives silence, lean back into it. Let her feel the weight of your calm. Indifference is not cruelty, it is mastery. Because every time you refuse to be pulled into her storm, she learns that you are the anchor. And anchors are irresistible, not because they move, but because they don't. Have you ever done this and didn't realize it pushed her away? Tell me what happened. What's the hardest thing you've faced when trying to keep a woman interested? Drop your story below. Which mistake do you see yourself making the most? Be honest in the comments. Imagine this: she looks at you, laughs at your joke, leans in as if she's completely invested. Then suddenly, she withdraws. She checks her phone, changes the subject, or excuses herself to the bathroom. You feel the shift instantly. Her warmth turns to distance, and your chest tightens because you don't know what you did wrong. This is where most men lose themselves. They scramble to fix it, to win her back in real time. They offer more attention. They apologize for things they didn't even do. They make promises to regain what just slipped away. But what they don't realize is that she engineered the moment. Not consciously, perhaps, but instinctively. Women test a man's frame by destabilizing it. She wants to feel whether your self-worth is dependent on her mood, because if it is, she already knows she can control you. The truth is brutal. When a woman pulls back, she doesn't want you to chase harder. She wants to feel the strength of your indifference. Not coldness, not cruelty, but the quiet confidence that says, I don't collapse just because you do. That's what conquers her, your refusal to be emotionally dominated by her fluctuations. And this is where you separate yourself from the weak majority of men. Because most men are so desperate for approval that they fold under the smallest withdrawal of affection. They mistake the absence of her warmth as a sign of their failure, when in reality, it's a door opening to prove their composure. Science now calls this emotional volatility testing. Research shows women subconsciously create micro shifts in behavior to evaluate how a man regulates himself under stress. If you remain calm, she feels more secure and more attracted. If you panic, she loses respect. It's that simple. And yet, how many men have ruined something promising by overcompensating the second she acted distant? Think back, how many times have you texted too much, explained too much, or tried to win back attention you never should have been fighting for in the first place? Let me paint you a picture. A man is sitting across from a woman at dinner. They've been laughing, sharing stories. Everything feels smooth. Suddenly, she goes quiet, scrolling her phone. He notices. His heart rate spikes. He starts asking if everything is okay, cracking jokes, offering to order dessert, anything to restore the warmth. She barely reacts. Inside, he's spiraling, thinking he lost her. What he doesn't see is that she's not really checking her phone. She's checking him. She wants to feel whether his identity cracks without her attention. And the sad truth, it did. She knows now that he isn't centered in himself. He needs her approval like oxygen, and once she feels that, the attraction begins to decay. Now let's change the ending. Same setup, she goes quiet, picks up her phone. But this time, the man doesn't flinch. He leans back, takes a sip of his drink, scans the room casually. He doesn't try to fix anything. He doesn't beg for her attention. He lets her be, fully comfortable in his own presence. Do you know what happens then within minutes? She feels the void of his calm. She looks back at him, curious. She puts the phone down, re-engages, and this time her attraction is deeper. Why? Because she felt the strength of his independence. He didn't need her to complete his confidence, he was already whole. Here's the tactical move you must master: silence is not your enemy, it is your test. When she withdraws, match her distance with composure, not reaction. If she takes a step back, you don't chase forward, you hold ground. You show, without words, that your identity is not up for negotiation. This is how you conquer, not with force, not with words, but with presence. Women feel safety not when you cling, but when you remain immovable, because deep down, she doesn't want to control you. She wants to feel that she can't. And when she realizes she can't shake your frame, her desire intensifies. One man once told me he used to panic whenever his girlfriend pulled away. He admitted he'd send paragraphs of reassurance, trying to calm her down, but every time she grew colder. Finally, he decided to do the opposite. The next time she withdrew, he didn't react. He carried on with his plans, let her reach out when she was ready. The result? She came back faster and with more affection than ever. She even confessed she felt more attracted to him when he didn't chase. Why? Because his composure signaled strength, and women are drawn to strength like fire to oxygen. This doesn't mean you ignore her feelings or play cruel games. It means you stop being ruled by her temporary storms. You stop begging for validation. You stop equating her momentary distance with rejection. Instead, you stand firm. And in that firmness, you remind her of something she secretly craves to be conquered, not by words or bribes, but by the unshakable weight of your presence. Have you ever panicked when she pulled back and later regretted it? Share your story below. What's the hardest part for you, holding silence, not texting, or resisting the urge to over-explain? Be honest. Which moment of weakness do you recognize most in yourself? Think about how many times you've given away your power without even realizing it. She makes a sarcastic remark, maybe something like, "Oh, you're wearing that shirt again." It stings, but instead of standing firm, you laugh nervously, try to change your answer, maybe even promise to dress better next time. What just happened? You were tested, and you failed, because underneath the playfulness, she wanted to feel your strength. She wanted to see if her words could bend you. And when they did, even in that small moment, she lost just a little more respect. That's how erosion works. It doesn't come all at once. It comes drip by drip. And by the time you realize what's gone, attraction has already died. Here's what most men don't understand. Women don't consciously plan these tests. They're not sitting in a corner scheming, plotting how to undermine you. Their biology, their psychology, their instincts, they all push them to search for strength, to find out whether the man they're with can lead, can anchor, can provide stability in chaos. And one of the easiest ways to find out: push a little, withdraw a little, criticize a little. Not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Because who you are under pressure is who you truly are. She doesn't want to be conquered with empty charm. She wants to be conquered by your ability to remain unshaken when she shakes the ground beneath you. So let's break this down into real strategy. When she criticizes you, the worst thing you can do is defend yourself like a cornered child. The second worst thing is to lash out with anger. Both reactions prove that her words control you. Instead, master the art of amused detachment. If she says, You're late again, and you really are late. Acknowledge it calmly, yeah. I took my time, but I'm here now. No groveling, no defensive explanations. If she mocks your shirt, don't rush to justify it. Smile slightly and say, you'll get used to it. That's conquering. That's leading. That's refusing to let her emotions rewrite your identity. Let me give you a story. A man once told me his girlfriend loved to throw little digs at him in public. He always tried to defend himself, explaining, joking, anything to prove he wasn't what she accused him of being. But it only made her more relentless. Then one day, he changed. She teased him about his cooking. Instead of defending, he looked at her and said, "You still ate it all, though calm, playful, unshaken." The room shifted. She laughed, blushed, and didn't tease him again that night. Why? Because for the first time, he didn't hand over his frame. He didn't let her words conquer him. He conquered the moment by staying centered. Science in 2025 confirms this dynamic. Researchers studying attraction found that women's respect levels dropped sharply when men responded defensively to criticism. But respect grew when men responded with calm confidence or playful indifference. It wasn't about the words themselves, it was about what those words signaled. A defensive man signals weakness. A calm man signals strength. And strength, more than anything, is what her instincts are wired to crave. You don't have to be flawless. You just have to be unshakable. Now here's where the trap deepens. Some men swing too far the other way. They confuse being unshaken with being arrogant or dismissive. They shut her down cold, ignore her feelings, act superior. That's not conquering, that's hiding. True conquest doesn't mean silencing her. It means containing her storm without letting it drown you. It means listening, acknowledging, but not surrendering your self-worth. She can be upset, she can be critical, she can be distant, and you remain grounded. You lead with energy that says, "I hear you, but I am not ruled by you." That's the razor's edge. You must walk firm, but not cruel, playful, but not submissive, present, but not dependent. Think of it this way. A woman doesn't want to be with a man she can walk over, but she also doesn't want to be with a man who walks over her. She wants to feel the dance, her testing, your grounding, her storm, your calm, her push, your steady pull. That balance ignites her desire. That balance makes her feel safe enough to surrender, because she knows you won't collapse and you won't crush. You'll conquer quietly through presence. So the next time she criticizes, withdraws, or tests you, remember this: she isn't asking for an apology. She's asking for proof. Proof that you can withstand her fire without losing your center. Proof that your worth isn't negotiable. Proof that your identity is stronger than her storm. And if you can give her that proof, not by words but by behavior, she will look at you differently, with respect, with attraction, with the unspoken recognition that she's found a man who can lead her where she secretly wants to go. Have you ever defended yourself too much and felt her respect fade? Have you tried playful indifference and seen how it changes her reaction? Which part of this do you find hardest, staying calm, staying playful, or staying firm? Share your truth below. There's a deeper trap that men fall into, and it's not obvious at first. It's the trap of over-investment. You meet a woman, you're excited, you feel chemistry, and suddenly you start pouring everything into her. You give your time, your energy, your attention, your validation. You think that the more you give, the more she'll see your value. But what happens? The opposite. She starts to pull away. She seems less enthusiastic, less available, less affectionate, and you're left confused, asking yourself, what did I do wrong? I gave her everything. That's exactly the problem. You gave her everything before she earned it. You conquered yourself for her, and in the process, you lost the tension that makes her respect you. Here's what women instinctively know but will rarely admit. Attraction thrives on restraint. Too much availability suffocates. Too much investment feels desperate. The science is undeniable. Neuroscientists studying dopamine in 2025 confirmed that anticipation, uncertainty, and controlled reward fire stronger desire centers in the brain than constant availability ever could. In plain words, she craves the chase as much as you do. When you remove the chase by over-investing, you kill her desire. She may still like you, she may still care, but the fire fades, and once it's gone, no amount of giving can bring it back. Picture this scenario. You meet a woman on a Friday night. The date goes well. She laughs. She leans in. She kisses you goodbye. By Saturday morning, you're texting paragraphs, liking every post, asking her when you can see her again. You think you're showing interest, but what you're really showing is need. She hasn't even had a chance to wonder about you, to miss you, to think about that kiss, and already you've flooded her with attention. Do you know what she feels? Overwhelm, pressure, the subtle sense that you're already more invested in her than she is in you. And instead of leaning in, she leans out. Now let's flip it. Same Friday night date, same kiss. But this time, Saturday morning comes and you don't text right away. You let the memory of the date linger. You go about your day. You hold your ground. Later, when you do text, it's short, confident, and playful. You're not begging for another date, you're suggesting it casually, as if you already know she wants to see you again. And do you know what she feels? Curiosity, excitement, respect. Because she realizes you're not conquered by your own feelings. You control your attention, you give it, but you don't drown her in it. That's the difference between a man she respects and a man she uses. The tactic here is simple but difficult. Match her investment. Don't exceed it. If she gives a little, you give a little. If she leans in, you lean in. If she pulls back, you hold steady. Never pour more than she's poured, because the moment you do, you create imbalance. And imbalance always kills attraction. This doesn't mean you play childish games. It means you remain strategic with your energy. You let her earn deeper parts of you, step by step. That's not manipulation, that's respect for yourself. Because your time, your attention, your affection, they are valuable. And what is valuable must be earned. A man once told me about a woman he chased for months. He sent flowers, planned elaborate dates, showered her with compliments. She accepted everything but gave very little in return. Eventually, she ghosted him. His mistake. He thought generosity would conquer her, but generosity without restraint is desperation. Another man told me the opposite. He dated a woman he really liked, but he never gave more than she gave. When she texted, he responded warmly, but he didn't text 10 times more. When she invited him over, he came, but he didn't rearrange his entire life for her. Slowly, she started investing more, chasing more, valuing him more. Why? Because his self-worth wasn't up for sale. He didn't give himself away for free. She had to earn it, and she loved that. Here's what you must internalize. Women don't want a man who gives them the world without effort. They want a man whose world is so rich, so full, so disciplined, that she feels privileged to be invited into it. That's conquest, not throwing yourself at her feet, but standing so firm in who you are that she wants to climb to meet you. When you live this way, you don't just attract her, you make her respect you. And respect is the foundation of lasting desire. So the next time you feel the urge to overinvest, stop. Ask yourself, has she earned this level of access to me? Yet, if the answer is no, hold back, not out of fear, but out of strength, because the man who can control his giving is the man who can conquer her respect. And without respect, no amount of giving will ever be enough. Have you ever realized you were giving more than she was and watched her pull away? Do you struggle more with holding back or with knowing when to give? What's the hardest part for you? Silence, patience, or restraint? Drop your story below. There's one final battlefield most men never prepare for, the emotional war that begins once you've already won her attention. In the beginning, she's testing, she's playful, she's curious. But when she realizes she's drawn to you, that's when her deeper instincts awaken. And here's the truth, women don't just want to be attracted to you, they want to be conquered by you. Not through force, not through possession, but through the unshakable strength of your frame. They want to feel the weight of your presence so deeply that surrender feels natural, even inevitable. And if you can't provide that, if you collapse once she gives herself to you, the attraction burns out faster than it began. This is where most men fail. They think the hard part is getting her interested. They use charm, effort, persistence. But once she says yes, once she leans in, they relax. They think the battle is over. That's when they become sloppy, predictable, complacent. They start over-explaining, over-justifying, over-compensating, and slowly, without realizing it, they give away the power they earned. Do you know what she feels when this happens? Disappointment, because the conqueror she was drawn to is gone, replaced by a man who bends around her moods. And if you've ever seen a woman's desire vanish overnight, you know how brutal that disappointment is. The truth is, the conquest never ends. Not because she wants to dominate you, but because she needs to feel the stability of your dominance every single day. She needs to feel that no matter what happens, her doubts, her fears, her storms, you don't lose yourself. You don't beg, you don't crumble, you don't hand over the reins. That consistency is what makes her trust you, respect you, desire you, and it's what makes her feel free to surrender. Because surrender only feels safe when she knows you won't collapse under its weight. Let me give you a story. A man I once spoke to was living with his girlfriend of 2 years. At first, everything was fire, intense passion, endless nights, constant closeness. But over time, he started giving more of himself than she gave back. Whenever she was upset, he dropped everything to comfort her. Whenever she criticized him, he apologized instantly, even for things he didn't do. Slowly, she began to lose attraction. She stopped initiating intimacy. She spent more time with her friends. He couldn't understand it. He thought he was being the perfect boyfriend. But what she saw was a man conquered by her emotions. And once respect left, desire followed. Within months, the relationship was over. Now consider another man. His girlfriend also tested him constantly, complaints, coldness, pulling away. But he didn't collapse. He didn't over-explain. He didn't try to erase her moods. He listened, but he stood firm. When she criticized, he responded with calm amusement. When she pulled away, he gave her space and continued living his life. And when she tried to push harder, he smiled and said, "You'll figure it out." That man, she respected him more each day. She desired him more fiercely because she knew she couldn't control him, and paradoxically, it made her feel safer because his strength was bigger than her storms. That's conquest not controlling her, but refusing to be controlled by her. Science in 2025 calls this dominance without aggression. Researchers found that women rated men who displayed calm, authority, presence, and boundary setting as far more desirable than men who were either passive or domineering. In other words, she doesn't want you weak, and she doesn't want you tyrannical. She wants you sovereign, a man who rules himself so completely that she feels ruled by his presence, not his control. That's what ignites her deepest instincts. That's what makes her surrender. So how do you embody this first? You must stop negotiating your worth. The second you beg, explain, or justify, you signal dependence. Second, you must lead. Always. Lead in your decisions, in your direction, in your energy. She wants to feel you're taking her somewhere, not asking her for permission to exist. And third, you must detach from outcomes. If she leaves, she leaves. If she stays, she stays. But you remain unshaken because your power doesn't come from her, it comes from you. That's the mindset of a man who conquers. That's the energy of a man no woman can forget. And this is the paradox: the more you stop trying to conquer her, the more she feels conquered. Because conquest isn't about force, it's about presence. It's about being so centered, so unbothered, so alive in your own gravity that she naturally surrenders to it. That's the truth men are too afraid to accept. And that's why most men never taste it. But you, if you choose it, if you live it, you'll understand what so many never will. She didn't want your desperation. She wanted your dominance. She didn't want your gifts. She wanted your gravity. And once you give her that, she'll give you everything. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.